Question. Have you ever had dessert pizza? Like that streusel? Like I remember when I swam when I was younger, there was a pizza place near my school, and before swim practice, I'd eat a whole pizza before swim practice and a dessert pizza. It had like cinnamon.
Damn.
Dude, I crushed it.
Welcome to the show. This is the Hale Fitness. It's the Hale Fitness podcast. This is Coach Jay. I'm here with
Coach Wendy
and
Coach Rebecca.
All right. So we are missing one of our folks today. So we keep an empty mic in memory of Coach Katie, who is just out sick today. So we were talking earlier, and I asked you, Wendy. I said, what are some of the questions that your clients have been having lately? And what was your answer?
None.
I got no questions.
Answered them all.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, because everyone's crushing it.
Everyone is crushing it. So the answer was there are no questions because everyone's crushing it.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true of your clients, right?
Yeah, they are in a groove where they're kind of self-sufficient. Mm-hmm. They're like my little doves. I don't know. I don't know.
All right. So anyways, your little doves and your clients who are crushing it, I was asking you, like, why are your clients crushing it? And you gave me a one-word answer. What was it?
Consistency.
Consistency.
Yeah.
And it's consistency with what?
Primarily their nutrition.
Yeah.
That the consistency pretty much changed. They have a pretty solid momentum, and you get results, right, when that happens. So primarily the nutrition piece. So
I thought we would talk today about consistency, because I think there's kind of different levels as you go, and what depending on where you are, right, you may need to actually dial up your consistency, or maybe if you're just getting started, you don't need to be quite as dialed in. Right. So I kind of, what I thought was that we would kind of talk about some of the different types of athletes. And when we're talking about consistency, there's consistency in training, there's consistency in nutrition, right? The training is generally easier for people, especially after you've been here for a while. So we can touch on that, but mostly we're going to end up talking about consistency in nutrition. Yeah. So what I thought we'd talk about is maybe the sort of beginner, like just getting started athlete, the sort of intermediate, maybe they've been here, I don't know, what would you say intermediate is, like 6 months?
Like,
maybe?
yeah, I would say like 6 months and plus, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So something like that.
Yeah.
Like they remember what a squat is and where the barbells are located and stuff, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes.
I got a few.
The doves got to fly. So I thought, okay, so we got sort of the beginners, like complete beginners. We have the sort of intermediate athletes, and then we have the sort of advanced athletes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start with training, right? So in order to get any sort of results, how often would you say that people need to show up in the gym and train?
I was going to say 3 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 days.
3 days. Yeah.
Is that like a minimum? Is that like, can you show up more than that? Like,
yeah. So I would say 3 days, and then 2 to 3 days, just do some sort of movement or purposeful movement is what we like to call it here, right? So this could be like a 20-minute walk or a 20-minute hike, right? So just go outside and get a little bit of movement is basically, but minimum will be 3 times here at the gym.
Yeah. So how long does it take for people when they're getting started to get to be consistently showing up 3 days? Is it like from day one, or does it take a while? Or
I mean, no, day one.
For all my clients.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really tell you like a client that I had in the past, and it's like day 1, bam, day 2, no show, day 3. Like I haven't seen that yet. So I think 3 days is very achievable, and people can be very successful with just 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to, I think. I mean, it's possible, right? But I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
So far.
Okay. So maybe not with new clients, but maybe somebody that has dropped off, trying to get back. That's the goal, is 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And then you're working up to, like, when you get to intermediate, are you still doing 3 days, or?
we will sometimes pump it up to like 4 to 5 days.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what their interests are as well. So there are people.
Ask them what their interests are.
Yeah. Ask them.
Who they be with.
Oh man. Now I just want to wrap. Okay. So, some of them.
You gonna be here for a while? No, sorry.
So yeah, some people like to play other sports, pickleball, tennis, handball, yoga is another thing. So
I thought you were just gonna keep naming sports
Just
that are
sports?
played on a court. Pickleball, tennis, let's see, handball,
I'm just thinking of things that like my clients have
badminton.
mentioned that they play.
Yeah.
Basketball, I guess. Yeah. So what can supplement what we do here? So if they're already doing that, I want to be like, yeah, but then come in for a workout too.
Yeah. So you're getting some, 3 times a week, maybe up to 5 times a week as an intermediate athlete. As advanced, maybe it's 5 times, maybe it's more again, depending on what they're interested in. Okay, cool. So if you are a beginner or you're working your way back, that is the number one thing, is to get here 3 times a week. Would you say that's even more important than nutrition at the beginning, or is it both the same?
I do think so. Just movement is more important than nutrition.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Why?
Because like with the especially how we do it here, how all you have to do is just show up and then we tell you what to do. We'll take care of the rest, right?
Yeah.
You're doing less thinking, right? Your only goal is to show up. That's it, right? So that's more of you'll get a faster momentum and a routine going on, right? Versus nutrition, that can be a little tricky, especially if you tried a whole bunch of things in the past. It's like, oh, here we go again, right? Yeah, I think what I see is most people feel very successful when they get like a movement going on, right? And they start to feel better. They are getting better sleep and they're sweating. So it's like a boost of energy, I want to say, that helps them to get back into things.
Yeah. Okay. Would you say that's true for your folks as well?
Yeah, the act of just coming into the gym, I think, triggers like the other lifestyle habits that go along with it. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at like the biomechanics, like the nutrition matters more.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's just harder from a life perspective.
Yes.
It's easier to show up and do the thing, and then you start having a habit, and then it's easier to kind of add stuff onto that. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we got the training out of the way. Super easy. Actually, one other question. You said that like purposeful movement. Do you have like a step goal, or do you have people do like?
Yeah, some people I have them do like steps, like hit an amount of steps. Some people also have like equipment at home, so like a stationary bike or like a rower. Or even just like time, right? Make sure that you're outside for 20 minutes, right? Things like that. If you have an Apple Watch, right, you can easily just track your steps, right? Or your heart rate or whatever. Some actually, I do have a few clients that they do Apple TV. They have like some videos where it's like a dancing type of thing, right? That's considered an actual workout. So even like things like that.
Right. My wife has the Apple Watch, and one of the exercises is social dance.
Yeah.
Social dance.
Yeah.
Do you have an Apple Watch? So anyways, my son found this thing. It's called social dance, and it's 2 people just like making this move. Yeah. And so and so he goes up to my wife every so often and says, social dance. And then
That's what they do.
Yeah. It's like or they like hold it, Anyways. So
I have some clients that do that as a purposeful movement. So it could pretty much be anything. I do tell people minimal would be 20 minutes to be considered purposeful movement.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but you have like each person has a specific recommendation.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's actually a really. I found that just for myself. I think having some sort of like general movement practice, like I have, this thing tracks my steps, right? And it's just like, I notice there are days like if I don't come in here, I could like have like 4,000 or 5,000 steps in a day. And it's like, dude, like you can't just like sit around all day. Like you gotta move even on the days when you're not doing stuff.
Well, I remember you saying how the Whoop, when you're like coaching, when you have been coaching for a very long time, it like basically says that you're done for the day.
Oh yeah, it's a workout. And so I do have a couple clients who have very active jobs.
Yeah.
And so when they're doing that all day, and you know, they may now have a movement measure, but they'll get hard down on themselves for not working out. And I'm like, dude, you're on your feet all day, like walking around. I mean, that is something, and that is going to impact how you're feeling and all the things. So
yeah, and I think so we got the movement down. So consistency and movement starts with 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of going from there when you're also adding some purposeful movement. Okay. So you will start in the path, but consistency with nutrition is more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about, like, for beginner, intermediate, and advanced athletes. Let's say that the goal is to get fitter. Like, it could mean that they want to lose a little bit of weight or lose a little fat or, get some muscle, whatever. Like, everyone's goal here is basically to get fitter.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're listening to this, even if it's lose weight or get stronger, it's kind of similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your nutrition is just going to be dialed up and down based on what that goal is, right? We're going to assume that people aren't training for national Olympic lifting competitions, right? So if your goal is to just kind of get fitter, like at the beginning when you're first starting with nutrition, right? How important is consistency? Like, what do you need to be consistent with, and how consistent do you need to be? What would you recommend? I guess I would say.
Like this is with nutrition and fitness at the same time?
Just nutrition.
Just nutrition.
The fitness, we're going to assume that you're doing the 3 days a week. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say tracking will be one.
Yeah.
Tracking, just getting into a habit of tracking. And this could be like any sort of tracking, right?
Yeah.
An app or a journal or sending pictures, right?
Yeah.
It's anything that holds you accountable for you to think, right, before putting your meals in the mouth, right? Or just like getting into a habit of writing down what your day-to-day looks like in terms of your food.
Yeah.
I think it's one thing that I like to see for clients to
bringing some awareness to what they're eating.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. Do you have any suggestions there?
In terms of what's the first step, I thought we were asking how often they had to do it.
Well, that's the next question actually, is like, so if you're tracking, is it like 100% or whatever? But I'm before we answer that, what do you think? Is there other things that you would have people look at in terms of nutrition?
Yeah, I think bringing awareness is the biggest thing, because and I often think of my parents with this, because they'll tell me how healthy they eat, and they'll eat healthy throughout the day, and then their dinner is like garbage. Or my dad will literally spray whipped cream into his mouth, as though it doesn't count.
He's a retired man.
He's happy he earned that.
He earned that
with spray whipped cream. Yeah, man. Teaching my son. Anyway.
If you get it real close, you get a little loopy.
Yeah, so just understanding what it is that you are actually putting into your mouth, because we remember all the healthy things. I ate a salad during lunch, but I forgot that I added
M&M's.
a cup of whipped cream on top.
That's like great dressing.
Well, so for example, when I went home to visit my parents, my mom made oatmeal, because I eat oatmeal when I'm there, and I was so excited about it, and I brought my protein to mix with it, and so she's like, oh, I'm gonna have some, because it's healthy. And so she starts cutting up a banana, and she's like, oatmeal's really bland. I'm just going to put this banana in. And then she got some honey, and she added some honey, and she's like, oh, I just need it to be a little sweet. And then I think she got like chocolate. She's like got something else, where I'm just like, what are you doing? So it was essentially dessert. And so
pour some Cocoa Puffs in there.
Yeah, but the narrative that my mom tells herself is that she ate oatmeal in the morning, and oatmeal's healthy.
It has fiber.
And so she feels good about that. But really, she also added all the things. And
Yeah. Okay, so I love this as a first step, is just bringing awareness, right? Tracking, writing it down, taking pictures, bringing some awareness. Okay, so that is like the thing to do. But how often do you need to do it? Is it all the time? Do you need to do it 80% of the time? Like, what would you recommend there?
with the only intent of you just logging, tracking. That's it. I'm not adding anything. I'm not taking anything away from you. Yes, it will be all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah. So you're just bringing that awareness constantly.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious because I don't know if this is a theory. I've seen this a couple of times. I've actually found that we did a video about this once. Actually, you can get in great shape just by tracking your food.
Oh yeah.
And weighing yourself or measuring, maybe a body fat scan or whatever, without changing anything. It was funny because when we shot that video, you made this look like, oh God, this is Jay with his bullshit, like whatever.
You're actually right. I do have to admit, I have to give it to you.
Oh, wow,
I do because I've seen clients.
Let's go.
I even thought to myself when I was seeing people actually get results, I was like, fudge, he's gonna ask me one of these days, hey, do you remember that thing? Have you tried it? He's gonna ask. I know he is, and I'm gonna have to say yes.
Yeah.
Jay's right. I hate admitting this. Jay's actually right. Oh, God.
Why?
90% of the time, it takes us a while sometimes to agree.
Yes, it does.
Reactions.
It does.
We always come around.
Do I gloat when you tell me that I'm right? Am I like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm right? Well, I guess I kind of did just there.
Sometimes you do.
And then you're like, oh,
Okay,
I said
Sometimes
that.
you do.
So I get what I deserve. Then. Fine, fair enough. Fair enough. As long as you're listening, it's fine. But okay, so you're bringing awareness, and sometimes that awareness is enough to get people going.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What I tend to see, even on the first week when I tell people to, we're gonna start tracking food. I'm not taking anything away from you. Your only goal is to track food. That's it. Everything you put into your mouth, you're gonna go ahead and just track it.
Yeah.
Number one thing I hear all the time is, well, I was planning on having, an In-N-Out, but I knew that you were going to check my log. So I decided to go with X.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, yes.
Yeah.
That happens week one. I cannot tell you how many times I hear it. It's just week one.
Yeah.
And again, it comes back to your theory and how you can get progress by just logging.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good. Okay. So, this is the thing about it. You don't have to make a ton of changes.
No.
And in fact, we tell this to people when we do, our consult at the beginning. It's just we don't tell you to stop drinking alcohol or stop, having sugar or, stop doing whipped cream from the bottle, whatever. We just tell you.
Love you, Dad.
Hey, you can get fit eating whipped cream
That's
every
right.
day.
That's right.
We
Log
just-
it. Make sure you log it every day.
But we just say we're going to take what you're doing and figure out a way
Right.
to
make it work.
Yeah, make it work for your goals, right? Okay, so let's assume that you've gotten through the awareness piece. And is that I guess maybe a question for beginners, people that are first getting started.
Yeah.
Is that all you need, or is there
We start with that, right?
Yeah,
And
okay.
then week 2, we usually take a second in-body scan, and we always see some great results, even just your muscle going up. Your muscle will go up, right,
Yeah.
in that week second scan. What I see is people tend to get very motivated seeing results.
Yeah.
And usually I want to say maybe 70% of the time, they always tell me, okay, so what do we need to do to get more results, right?
Yeah.
So they get excited to see more. And then that's
Yes.
when we start to push the pace a little bit more. And we either, start working on specifics now, right?
Yeah.
What do we need to change to kind of get that momentum, going
Yeah.
more?
Yeah. That's that pyramid that we had a while back. Where
Yeah.
it's just you show up.
Yep.
And then you get comfortable and then you start
Yep.
getting results. Then you're like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, for sure. People
Yeah.
get motivated. So that's when we start to switch. So I don't always have them just track, right? Usually we do a little bit more work to
Yeah.
that after we got the awareness, and then that's how the things could start to go more.
Yeah. Okay. So it's like, it's only when they're asking for like more that you're like, let's do a little bit more.
Or vice versa, right? We get like a off scan because sometimes it doesn't always work for everyone, right? Just, something happens and like, let's just say the scan didn't move much, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty much the same. Then we go back to the food log and we're like, well, this is what you're having for breakfast now, right? Which is why it's not they're having like pizza for breakfast every single breakfast, right? That's
awesome.
Right? So why don't we switch that pizza to something else, right? That's going to give you a little bit more macronutrients. It's going to help you towards some goals. And I always tend to go back to the original goals, always pinpoint, like going back to that and say, this is what we're working for, right? So let's try this for 2 weeks and see if we can get some movement going on. Right. And then that's why the logging thing, the food tracking is just amazing because we can always go back. It's always there.
Yeah.
So then we can always see what's working, what's not working. Sometimes things don't go well that second scan. And I'm like, okay, what do we need to change? Going back to the food logs, right, that we had.
Yeah. So logging is like baseline minimum.
Oh,
Everyone has
totally.
to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we got the baseline. Then you start making changes, right? So then you're like, okay, cool. Pizza for breakfast, whipped cream for lunch, and whatever for dinner is like not gonna work for your goals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Side question: have you ever had dessert pizza? Like that streusel? Like I remember when I swam when I was younger. There was a pizza place near my school, and before swim practice, I'd eat a whole pizza before swim practice and a dessert pizza. It had like cinnamon.
Damn.
Dude, I crushed it.
No, I never had that. That sounds amazing though.
It was for some reason when you said pizza for breakfast, I
Oh, you thought it was
immediately
that
thought
one?
of dessert pizza, and I just
Maybe.
I mean, I would probably make me sick now, but I'm
I don't know. That sounds like something we would have to try.
thinking about it.
I got a side note. I love it when you just chime in with a random story. I feel like, our editors, we need a theme song for Rebecca's random stories. Yeah. It's time for
You
one
don't know
of.
what really grinds my gear.
No. Just like a wistful, like, have you ever had pizza for breakfast? Back when I was. Those are amazing.
Montage of me.
Yeah, we get a little animation.
Yeah.
Right before swim practice, they show you with a towel and like your swim flip flops. I go to the pizza place and
Dude, I would crush like a dozen donuts before. I was tiny, and I mean, I swam like I was like on like this kind of pretty intense swim team. Like I would swim twice a day sometimes, but like I ate a lot.
yeah, that's what happens when you swim a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, twice
I wish I
twice
had
a
that
day.
metabolism
Wow.
where I could just eat a dozen donuts.
There's a thing though about swimming. Like it's not just metabolism. Like the amount of time your body or the amount of energy your body has to expend keeping you warm in that cold water, even if it's body temperature, your body has to work hard to keep you warm. You burn a ton of calories when you're swimming.
And this was in Washington State, so it was pretty cold.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Anyway, dessert pizza, donuts.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. So you start making changes to the thing. The baseline is tracking.
Mm-hmm.
Some people get progress with that. Other people, they need to make some changes. You start making changes, right? Which is, do a little more of this, a little less of that, whatever, or a little more, whatever. Yep. So you make those changes. And once you start to make those changes, how consistent do people need to be with those? Like if you tell someone like, let's say I need you to eat another 30 to 50 grams of protein every day, and I want you to cut down a little bit on, the sugars for breakfast or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Who said about 85%?
So 85%.
Yeah.
So like 6 out of 7 days
Yeah.
is what you're looking
Yeah.
for. Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting. What if they did 75%?
Like they would.
then they get the side. 75%. I don't know what I'm going to do with this.
Only half a day on Saturday, I see.
Next week, 100%. We got to get the averages up.
Man, I think I do that too. I need to work on that. No, with given 75, the consistency doesn't quite get there. Like it's like we take 3 steps forward and then we take like 2 steps back, right?
Yeah.
So we're kind of just
Yeah.
And that makes it really hard. So it's sketchy, I want to say. That's a sketchy road, I want to say, going 75.
So you're looking for 80, 85 at least.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
That's been true in my experience as well. It's like, especially for beginners, like you don't have to be 100%.
No.
But like you gotta be able to stay on the thing most of the time, 6 out of 7 days. Yeah. So, okay, keep going.
I'm assuming that 7th day isn't like a dozen donuts, a dessert pizza,
No.
a breakfast pizza. Like, I did 6 days.
No, the 7 day could be, something like, I was out of town, right? And I had no idea what I was going to have for food. So I just did my best.
Yeah.
Right. Or like things like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, here's the thing. Even if you do the dessert pizza and all of that other stuff on that 7th day, like especially if you're a beginner, you started lifting weights, you're getting consistent, whatever, it's actually not going to kill you.
Yeah. It won't hurt. Like it won't throw your whole entire progress.
2 dessert pizzas.
I'll raise you. 2 dessert pizzas, 2 dozen donuts, 2 cans of whipped cream. See, that's the thing. Once you start to describe it, you're eating like on plan 6 days. That 7th day, if you go all out like that, like you might be able to do that week 1.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do it week 2. At a certain point, you go like, man, I'm tired of feeling sick on Sunday and Monday, recovering from Saturday.
Yeah, because your body gets adjusted to cleaning or eating more whole foods, right?
Yeah.
And then once you introduce, like, let's say you're great for two weeks, and for some reason you go off rails, like on that 9th day or whatever, you will feel really sick.
Yeah.
And that's kind of hard for you to continue to do that, because I just feel like it's just, and I get that all the time, like, man, I really regret doing that. Like now I know that I really don't like eating that stuff because it doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
So I would say that people, unless you're Rebecca, maybe.
Yeah.
9-year-old swimmer Rebecca.
We were crushing pizza before swim practice.
Oh, I was so hungry, man.
Hardcore.
So hungry.
All right. So
I remember playing soccer, and I don't remember like eating pizza. And I mean, soccer is different. Right?
There is a thing though. I mean, when I was like 16, so you can eat whatever the hell you want.
I actually know. I'm lying. I would eat hot Cheetos.
Yeah.
Before soccer. That would be my thing. Hot Cheetos.
Yeah. Okay, so you're at your 85%, and is that kind of where you'd stop it for beginners?
Depends, right? I mean,
give me a definitive answer that we can apply to everyone on Earth. I don't want to hear it depends.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously there's potential exceptions, right? But there's a thing, like in your first year, if you've never lifted weights, if you've never done any of this stuff we're doing, like you can, like just showing up in the gym and doing anything, you make amazing progress.
Yeah, it's enough to make progress. Yeah.
All right, so once you get to intermediate level, like 6 to 12 months in, right?
Yeah.
You've gotten over the honeymoon of like every day as a PR.
Right.
Right, which is, man, those were good days.
Yeah.
Those were good days, yeah.
Yeah, like if you want to continue to improve, like let's say you're, you lost a bunch of weight, but you still have a little bit that you want to lose, right? Or maybe, you've gotten stronger, but, maybe you're not as strong as you want to be or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right. So do you then at that point dial up the consistency, or do you just stick with the 85% even for intermediates?
No, I would say I would dial up the consistency, right? Because now you are looking to get different results, I'm guessing, is what you described, correct?
I mean, presuming you're still wanting some additional results.
Right. Yeah. I would say bring it up a little bit more.
So from 85 to what?
I wouldn't say like more so the consistency, but the actual plan.
Okay, so you would change the plan, but it would still be 85.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that how you would approach it as well?
Yeah, because your body is going to adapt to whatever it is that you're doing. If you are beginner, you're eating at a beginner level. In order for change to happen, you gotta change. You
gotta change to change.
Here's drop in wisdom.
No, that's actually a thing that I've said many times.
Yeah.
Like, when you say like, hey, I'm really going to need you to stop eating like, 3 donuts for breakfast. And you're like, oh, but I really love donuts. It's like, well, you got to change to change. Yeah. Anyways.
Profound.
You're still thinking about breakfast pizza. When's the last time you ate? Because we start talking about food and your mind goes elsewhere.
I know. Well, so I've actually been thinking as we talk through all this idea of saying things you can't eat or shouldn't eat, or things don't eat this, and it's like those are immediately the things that you start thinking about and wanting to eat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so just maybe changing the narrative of like, you can eat dessert pizza. It will take longer for you to reach your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have to measure the amount of dessert pizza you eat, which maybe is less fun.
Yeah. But as soon as we started saying, can't negations, I'm like, man, I want pizza.
Yeah.
I want donuts.
Well, yeah, when we're joking around on the podcast, we talk about things you can and can't eat, but we don't actually tell you can't eat stuff. I know. Right? So
that's where I need that thought bubble, editors. You just have donuts and pizza. Everything they say, it's just like,
this is my lunch tomorrow. This sounds amazing. All right. Okay, so that is for like intermediate athletes that are trying to achieve their goal. You would change the plan, but you wouldn't change the sort of consistency.
Right.
Would you change anything for advanced, or would it be, again, just changing the plan, but not the consistency?
Yeah, that's like a whole different look, because I consider myself as an advanced athlete, right?
Yeah.
And I had to go from 85 to 100 at some point in order for me to reach a specific goal that I was aiming for, right? Because now if you're advanced, you're thinking more performance, right? Mm-hmm. So you're thinking more specifics, right? And it does require a little bit more than what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I will say the consistency will go up a little bit more.
Yeah. If you are trying to achieve something, not just maintain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If you're going for, some aggressive goals, right?
Yeah. What's been your experience?
Depends on the goal. If you're in maintenance, if this is like what you're living at, then I think 85, 90%. I mean, your plan's going to be different, right? So it still comes down to a plan. So like my normal maintenance could still be tracking, where that might be, an intermediate person. Like, we're just going to track for the next month and then we'll dial back. Whereas I'm like always tracking, but then maybe one day I'm not, or something like that.
Yeah.
And so that's my 85%. But if I'm, I got to cut weight for a meet, then I'm going to have to dial back up. But I don't think being 100% is sustainable for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. Because that's when you just crash. And
you burn out.
Start eating all the dessert pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I do agree. The 85% for an advanced athlete is maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
Like let's just say you're eating 6 days a week, like kind of on plan, and then one day you kind of go off plan, whatever that is, right? And eventually you do this long enough to where on plan and off plan are like mixed, so it's not like all the same thing. But like let's just say one of these foods that you tend to eat less of, right? Like the dessert pizza, you're probably only going to have that once a week as an advanced athlete for maintenance, right? Now, if you're swimming, maybe you have it every day, right? But depending on your plan, like you may just like blow it out once a week and you can still maintain. I have found it's really interesting. I'm the same. Like if I just want maintenance, then 5-6 days a week works great, right? And so it's like 5 days a week is rough because that's only like 70%, something like that. So then the next week it has to be 6. Or if it's like 5 every week, then it's not maintenance anymore. Now I'm like losing. But 6 days a week is like maintenance. And with my coach, I had been doing 5-6 days a week and was pretty much maintaining my weight, my body fat, my performance, all of that stuff. And I was like, I talked to him. I was like, dude, like I'm not making progress. And he's like, well, you're not eating and doing the things that you need to do to make progress. Like 6 days a week is not enough for what you're trying to achieve.
Right.
And I was like, all right, well, that's why I hired you. You're the coach, right?
Yeah.
And so 2-3 weeks of just hitting it 7 days a week, it made all the difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, is that going to be the case forever? No, maybe you achieve the goal in 6 weeks or whatever,
Right.
and then you go back to maintenance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But it's just something to kind of keep in mind for an advanced athlete. And I actually think this is really relevant for someone like the three of us and some of our advanced athletes who are like, man, I am like so close to that thing.
Yeah.
And nutrition is a big part of what's going to get you there or not.
Yeah.
But if you're a beginner, it's like, look, I mean, just making changes to your normal stuff is going to make a huge difference.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I like that.
Where I think, I mean, I totally agree with all your assessments. We don't have Katie here to disagree, so we're all going to agree on everything. But I think as a beginner, it's a mistake to go for 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. There's no need for that.
I was listening to another podcast and it was comparing. I know. I don't just solely listen to this podcast. As much as I love hearing the sound of my own voice every single week, I'm totally dropping bombs that change to make change one.
So,
wait. So it was saying that, going into a gym and as a beginner and trying to change all nutrition would be like coming into a class and being like, hey, why don't you go snatch? Like it's your first day at the gym. And so like if you're a beginner and you're tracking macros, you're essentially picking up a barbell and trying to snatch it over your head.
Yeah. And you might be able to pull it off.
Yeah.
But you also might end up like embarrassed and crying and, just like biting off more than you can chew.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I think a lot of people come in. When I do these consults, people are like, are you going to tell me to stop eating this or do that? It's like, no, like that's not how you're going to get long-term change. Like you could lose 20 pounds in 6 weeks if you change everything.
Yeah.
But like, what's the point? At the end of the 6 weeks, you're going to go back to doing all the stuff you used to do. And then it ends up not working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think one of the things we started this talking about how your clients are kind of crushing it, but they're not 100%.
No. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Not 100%, no.
Yeah. So they're probably also happy while they're doing it.
They're so happy. One client said I was their favorite person at the moment. So.
Wow.
Just one, huh?
This week, okay?
Yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. Like once you figure out some of the habits and you realize like, oh, I can balance it, then it's not so bad.
And it's exciting. And I think that also motivates people to keep going too, right? Like I only have to be 85% and I'm seeing results and I'm feeling better. I can stick with this, right? Long term, like for a whole entire year now, right? So that even brings more joy to me because, at some point, and I always tell people, I'm here until you want me to, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to be here. I'm going to give you my support. You have me as a coach forever, as long as you want me to. But at some point, you're going to have to go your own way and you'll know how to sustain that goal, that progress that you made. Yeah. I never want them to go backwards. I always want them to keep moving forward and maintain that progress. And that's the long-term goal, just to maintain.
Yeah.
So
would you say it was like doves that are flying?
That's when you got to cue the, oh no, he's canceled. I was going to say, I believe I can fly, but we can't play that.
All right. Excellent. I think this is actually really helpful to break it down this way of just like where your consistency is. And, to be clear, I think the only folks that you've advised, the only things you're doing 100% is number one, being aware.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's for everyone. Right. Awareness makes a huge difference.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then number two is once you get to a point where you're like maybe plateauing, you've made adjustments to your plan, then that's where you would consider dialing that consistency up.
Yeah.
Right. But that doesn't happen until probably years into your journey.
Yeah.
At least a year.
Yeah.
If not longer.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We crushed it. Well done. Can we gloat about this one?
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. 5 stars. Go in and rate this podcast 5 stars because we absolutely crushed it. Have a fantastic day. We'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, we've got plenty of others. Go check out this one over here.